What's up, fellow prosperity partners and grow givers? JuJuan Buford, managing partner, JSB Business Solutions Group, actually broadcasting from Atlanta today. And I want to share a brief conversation I had with a couple colleagues over the last week. So you know how I do it when I'm out in the field working with individuals. If I end up having a discussion or we end up sharing information about something I think could be beneficial, I want to get it out there, right? At the end of the day, if you're not aware of it, my objective is real simple. It's to help over 100,000 households over the next 10 years become entrepreneurs, to become employers. You know, I really believe that if you're going to take control of what happens at the kitchen table, entrepreneurship is the way to do it. You want to have more influence in what transpires in your neighborhood, look, become the employer, right? And so that's what we're about here, helping other people level up. And that's why I'm giving this talk. So you have to forgive me, my throat's a little tired and sore. Haven't had a glass of water or anything after this flight. But like I said, I'm in between appointments, want to get this in. And so look, the conversation I had recently involved a discussion that comes up frequently, right, in entrepreneurship circles. And that discussion involves the idea of balance, right? So I was working with an associate who has children, work responsibilities, working 2 and 3 jobs. And you know, many of us can probably identify with this, right? She goes to work, does things she needs to do for her family, and she feels like she has nothing left. Or because of children and multiple jobs and a whole bunch of other moving parts in her life, which I won't disclose here, she just feels like she's constantly being pulled in a million different directions, right? She's kind of blowing in the wind like a leaf. And every day is never the same. And it's like whenever she tries to install a routine, it doesn't work because something's going on with the child. You got to run something to school, or something's happening with having to take the child to a clinic or emergency room, or the 2 jobs, shifting in schedules and all this stuff. She can't ever really find a rhythm, right? And many of us can identify with this, right? I know I certainly can. And you know, if you know me, I am the king of routine. I am the king of having an itinerary. I believe your itinerary and your routine ultimately determines your habits, and your habits ultimately determine your future, right? But there are times where a routine, or at least one that I would say would be consistent, or one that would be static, right, just might not be suitable given your circumstances. And so the piece of advice I gave her was simply this, because you know, look, I'm a parent, single parent, and I know what it's like to have to deal with children and evolving schedules, right? Being an entrepreneur, you know, for me, it's entertaining. People say, how does it feel to be your own boss? Man, my clients, okay, the people who are relying upon me to be successful, they're my boss. And so, yeah, my schedule can shift and it can change. And I try to stick to my routine. You know, I try to stick to my reading habit, certain time. I try to go to sleep and wake up at the same time, try to eat around the same times, try to do a lot of different things around the same time. My workout schedule, try to keep that consistent. But the bottom line is, particularly if something's going on with my children, sometimes that stuff has to go out the window. If I got to pop up at school because one of them is sick, one of them left their homework at home, got to run back up there again, got to run them to urgent care for something, or just some type of activity that was scheduled that slipped my mind, whatever the case may be, sometimes it's not plausible when you are in a situation like that, right? I tell people the only constant in life is change. And so sometimes you have to be willing to deal with the organized noise that's coloring your life. So if you're dealing with a circumstance like that, how do you manage? How do you make sure you're still doing the things you need to do? And you know, what I shared with her is, look, you need to be real clear on your priorities, because once you become real clear on your priorities, what matters most, what's most important to you, then you can become real clear on what are the things you need to do on a daily basis to get closer, right? If you feel like you're blowing in the wind, if you feel like every single day you're being pulled in a million different directions, and at the end of the day you're fatigued, you're tired, you don't have nothing left but just to get through the following day, and you're feeling frustrated because you're not making progress, 9 times out of 10 you have not really identified your priorities, right? Because if you've identified your priorities, then you can wake up every single day and you can ask yourself, what are the top 3 to 5 things that I'm going to do to make sure I'm inching closer to my priorities? And notice the word I'm using, inching, because some people try to eat an elephant in one bite. Look, if you get 1% better at being a parent, 1% better at managing money, 1% better at being an entrepreneur, 1% better at any endeavor. At the end of a year, you're 52% better if you're getting 1% better a week. You don't need to get 20% better a week. If you just get 1% better, ask yourself, if you all of a sudden were 50% better at being a parent, 50% better at being an entrepreneur, 50% better at being a leader, 50% better at being a communicator, 50% better at anything that you want to learn, that'd be significant progress, right? So sometimes what we end up doing, also an error judgment that we make, is we underestimate what we can get done in the long term and overestimate what can be done in the short term, right? And so what you really want to do, and what I encourage individuals to do, is look, find out what are the KPIs for your life, key performance indicators. What are the key performance indicators? What are the things that you need to do on a daily basis to make sure that you are inching closer to your priorities, right? Your agenda, the direction you want to head in your life, the things that matter most, right? Again, once you've identified those things, you don't necessarily have to adhere to a routine, but you have to make sure that those things get done by the end of the day. So for the purpose of this talk, we're talking about entrepreneurship. As an entrepreneur, I know there are 3 things I must do on a daily basis, or I'm really not in business. It's a hobby. The first thing I have to do is I have to share information. People who don't know who I am need to learn who I am and what it is that I do. Whether it's via social media, whether it's knocking on doors, handing out business cards, going to networking events, whatever the case may be, every single day, I need to make sure that somebody that I did not know before or was not aware of my business before becomes aware of my business today, right? And so every single day, I'm gonna make sure I get in a certain number of invites. I'm gonna make sure I get in a certain number of exposures where people have an opportunity to make an educated decision as to whether or not they wanna learn more about what it is I'm doing. I know a certain number of presentations have to be scheduled. It doesn't necessarily mean I'm giving the presentation. It can straight up be a video that is exceptionally comprehensive, or maybe I can invite a business partner to give a presentation on my behalf. But I know I have to be giving individuals an opportunity to make an educated decision about what it is that I do. Now, I can influence, but I can't control whether or not someone's yay or nay. I can't control the professionalism, the energy, the enthusiasm, the commitment I bring to the table, and I can ask for referrals. All right, so whether someone says yay or nay, I know I need to be asking for referrals every single day, right? The quickest route to a destination is a straight line. So if I can share the value prop and the person agrees there's a value prop here, that opens the door for referrals. And so those are the things that I take aim at on a daily basis. Now, obviously, I'm not calling business owners at 7, 8, 9 p.m. at night, but I can be on LinkedIn prospecting, right? If a situation transpires where first thing in the morning, my schedule goes haywire because something's going on with the children or an appointment or some type of urgent matter needs to come up, well, then I can make those phone calls between 12 and 5, or I can make them between 9 and 11, right, and do what I need to do with in the afternoon. But the bottom line is I'm going to make those invitations. I'm going to make those exposures. It's going to happen, right? I'm going to schedule a presentation. Well, the presentation happens today, tomorrow, next week. The bottom line is a handful of presentations are getting scheduled, because if people are not given the opportunity to make an educated decision, well, then I'm out of business, right? And every time I have a conversation with someone who's been exposed to what it is that I do, and if I'm doing exposures on a daily basis, that means I should have people to talk to every single day, even if it's just one person. I'm gonna ask that person for referrals. Whether they make an affirmative or negative buying decision, I just want them to make a decision. But regardless of the decision, I'm asking for referrals. And so whether that happens at, once again, 9 a.m., 8 a.m., if that happens at 12, 5 or 6, I need to shoot out an email and inquire about it, which I wouldn't recommend. It's usually better to ask for it in person, right? Those things are gonna happen, right? I know I need to be reading for at least 30 minutes to an hour a day. Why? Because as an entrepreneur, my compensation is directly correlate with my ability to solve problems more efficiently and effectively than everyone else, which means I need to be informed. I need to be able, I need to be able to bring value, right? So those things need to happen. Now that can, once again, happen in the morning. Those things happen in the afternoon, they can happen in the evening, but the bottom line, of course, today is gonna happen, right? These are things that have to be done. For me personally, health is wealth. I can't run at the pace that I run at. I won't be able to sustain the activity I need to sustain. I won't be able to do a 90-day run if my body is broken down, right? So I squeeze in 10 to 15 minutes. That's all it takes, 10 to 15 minutes. You know, for me, my routine is real simple. Get into push-ups, get into squats, get into planks, the sit-ups. I wish I could do more every single day, but sometimes that's just the extent of it, right? Even if it's just 30 or 50 push-ups. I'll do that at minimum, but I'm going to get in some form of exercise because I know how important it is to be in shape so I can pay the price that sometimes will be exacted upon my body. And it's really good to clear up your mind as well. So these are the KPIs from my life. I'm just giving you an example. On the KPIs from the standpoint of being a entrepreneur. But I have KPIs in terms of my children, right? Saturday, afternoon, evening, Monopoly, every single week. My children look forward to it. They know that's the day where they're going to have my undivided attention. We're going to play Monopoly. I get to knock out two birds with one stone. I get to spend some time with them, talk to them, find out what's going on in their lives, and also instill some principles that I want to instill with them. So I get to pour into them uninterrupted, right? I give them that day. That's a KPI for me. That's a KPI. There are other KPIs I have, given the other business endeavors I may be involved in. I have KPIs for every single activity, every role in my life. As a father, as an entrepreneur, as a person who's building financial independence and wealth, I have KPIs. The different projects that I work on, I have KPIs. And what I will do is ask myself either before I go to bed or when I wake up in the morning, what are the top 3-5 things I need to do? What are the KPIs that I must address today to get closer to my goal? And that's what I'd recommend for individuals to do if you're at a point where just having a routine just might not be feasible. It just happens, right? My routine got completely thrown out the window. Flight got rescheduled 2-3 different times today. It was fascinating. So none of the things that I typically would do at a certain particular time was going to work today. But there are still things I needed to do, and I got it done, right? And there's still a couple KPIs I need to do. I need to finish reading. I only got in like 25-30 minutes of reading a day. I need to get another 20-30. Probably do it before I go to bed tonight. I didn't get in the invitations I normally would get in because I was running around the airport. Well, guess what? LinkedIn, West Coast, they're about to be my friends tonight, right? I didn't schedule too many presentations. I'm going to make an effort as soon as I wrap this up. I have a presentation that I'm getting ready to jump into now, and I'm going to try to squeeze in 2-3 more, right? But that's sometimes just the way it has to be. But if you know what your priorities are and you know what your KPIs are, even if your life is chaotic, you still can make progress, right? You're not blowing in the wind because the world has an agenda for you. You might not like what's in store. You need to make sure that you're real clear on your agenda, real clear on your priorities, real clear on where you want to be, whether it be a month, a year, 3-5 years from now, and that you've identified the KPIs that are required to get you there. And if you've done those things, even when your life, once again, is chaotic, when things aren't necessarily going as planned, you are still making progress, right? And once again, you only need to get 1% better a week. 1% better a week, at the end of the year, you're 50% better, right? And then any acceleration in your progress is just icing on the cake. So that's what I shared with one of my colleagues in particular. That's what I shared with quite a few of my colleagues actually over the course of the week who were dealing with similar issues. This is how I've tackled some of the challenges I've had to deal with in terms of family, business, et cetera, et cetera. With that being said, I celebrate your success in advance as always. Goodbye for now.